Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Greene. Today, I am super excited to be interviewing someone I have been following for and reading for a very, very long time, Stu Heinecke. He is a Wall Street Journal cartoonist, a Hall of Fame nominated marketer and author, the godfather of contact marketing, the best-selling author of Get the Meeting, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone, Big Fat Beautiful Head, Drawing Attention, How to Grow Your Business Like a Weed, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone with Expanded Updated AI Edition, and many, many other things. Stu, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for, man, what an exhaustive rundown. I haven't heard Big Fat Beautiful Head in quite a long time, actually.
Well, we do our research.
You sure did.
You pioneered contact marketing. What moment made you realize that a personal touch like your Wall Street Journal cartoons could break through the traditional marketing noise?
Well, there are two answers to that. The first one is way back when I wanted to start an agency, a little creative agency to serve the magazine publishing industry, which used a lot of direct mail campaigns. And I wanted to create those campaigns for them. I wanted to create test campaigns. They test them against their most effective thing they'd ever put in the mail, and which are their control groups or their controls. And then if you beat the controls, man, you're a superstar. And so, I got two really quick assignments, one for Rolling Stone and another one for Bon Appetit. And of course, all of these use cartoons and personalization. So when the recipient got the piece, they'd pull it out of the stack of mail and go, "Oh my God, the cartoon's about me. That's cool." So that was the effect I was looking for. And so I created those two test campaigns for Rolling Stone and Bon Appetit, and they both beat their controls right out of the box. And so I used the same thing, reached out to all the publishers, and I got 100% response rate. I was just reaching out to 24 people, the VPs and directors of either circulation or consumer marketing, and I got 100% response from them, 100% meeting rate, 100% conversion rate. They all became clients. It came from a campaign that cost me about, like $100. And it was worth millions. And I thought, what's this? What's going on?
That is a pretty good ROI.
Marketing's not supposed to work this way, is it? And then the other thing is that then led to just this great curiosity. Well, what's everyone else doing? I mean, I'm using cartoons. Not everyone's using cartoons. So what everyone has to have meetings. So what are they doing? And it was reaching out and finding out a lot more about what people are doing to get meetings that led to, let's say, naming contact marketing, because there was no name for it. So I had to name it something when I was writing the book. And that's where it all came from.
Awesome. How do you talk about that in that personalization element and a cartoon that's about a person. How do you strike a balance between personalization and scalability when it comes to contact marketing campaigns?
Well, another interesting question, man. That's great, because I think when I was first starting out in the magazine industry, there was only one kind of personalization. All we were doing was we had data for first and last name. Even that was sketchy, because sometimes it was just, let's say, the first initial. Nobody answers by that. Generally, people don't answer by that. But all we could do was drop name, whatever was part of the name and address file. So we could drop that into copy anywhere. And a lot of people really overdid it in let's say the body copy of a letter. They go, and Seth Greene, and Seth Greene, and what about this Seth Greene? And totally unnatural language. But what I found was that if I put someone in a cartoon, so if we personalized, the cartoons were written so that they had data insertion points as well for first and last name. And, if I'm just remembering one of the campaigns for Outdoor Life. And so the cartoon we used was by Leo Cullum, he's one of the New Yorker cartoonists. And it showed two fishermen on a dock. One's holding this huge bass in his arms, and the other one's saying, that looks like the one Seth Greene threw back. So if you're a fisherman, well, we know because we saw it, you're really, really likely to say, hey, that's pretty cool, man. Oh, look at this. It's by I don't know if you'll even think it consciously, but look at this. It's by this guy from the New Yorker. I've seen this guy's work everywhere. This is about me. And I am a great fisherman. So of course, and that's what caused people to be so responsive to it.
One of the things I thought was really interesting in all of your books, you don't just talk about what you've done. You've interviewed literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other people talking about some of their most successful campaigns as well. What surprised you the most about the things you've learned about contact marketing over the decades and decades that you've been doing it?
Well, I think the coolest thing about it, I know that you're not asking what's the coolest thing, but I'm going to tell you that anyway, is that there's just, when you survey a broad swath of humanity, of smart people, they are going to come up with the most audacious, clever things that you could ever imagine and in this case, to break through to someone that is of great importance to them, someone who, if they could connect with them and they became, let's say, a client, they'd be a dream client. They'd change their scale, or if they, or maybe they're a strategic partner, perhaps. And so if suddenly a new sales channel opens up that there's no way you could have created on your own. So I think that's. I'm sorry, Seth. I lost my train of thought on that a little bit.
That's okay. John, when you edit this, can you edit this part out? I'm going to re-ask Stu the question.
Yeah, please do that. I'm sorry.
Over.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to pause for 3 seconds of silence so that they have an audio buffer, and then I will re-ask the question. Stu, in all of your books, you don't just talk about the campaigns that you ran. You've also interviewed hundreds and hundreds of other super smart, successful folks. What was some of the most coolest and surprising things you learned from other people that made your own contact marketing even better?
So the thing that's really interesting about that is that when you survey a broad swath of very smart people, you see some real, just outrageous campaigns, outrageous things that people have done. And so one of the things that I think really shows up really strongly is that the people who are very successful at breaking through to people that I would say that they shouldn't be able to break through to, or maybe they should, who knows, because they do. So is that there's both elements of creativity and great audacity. And so there's a really cool story of how Chris Christopherson connected with Johnny Cash. Of course, Chris he's not selling B2B stuff, but he was selling his songwriting talent and services, and he wanted to work with Johnny Cash, but he didn't know him. So he tried. I'm going to shorten it a lot. So I'm just going to say that he was a helicopter pilot in the Army, and so that played into it. And after he got out of the service, he moved to Nashville to be closer to Johnny and see if he could meet him somehow. And he was introduced to him backstage one night, and it made almost no impression because Johnny was just about to go on stage. He got a job at the recording studio where Johnny recorded, and one of the things they told him, just as a janitor, I mean, Chris was a Rhodes Scholar. He's a very smart guy, a very, very capable guy. But anyway, that's how I'll get to know Johnny. So he did that. But as he was hired, he said, they told him, one of the things you need to know is that if you try to slip a demo tape to Johnny, you're fired immediately. So he started slipping him to June, his wife, and still nothing was happening. So one day, one day he's out on a mission. He's still flying for the National Guard, and he thought, well, on the way back, I'm going to stop by Johnny's house. And he did. He landed on his front lawn and then handed off a demo tape. And that got Johnny's attention. And it gave Johnny this really, really cool story to tell people, about, well, I got to tell you the story about how Chris and I met. He landed a helicopter on my front lawn. And Johnny would always embellish the story. It was always fun because Johnny would embellish it and Chris would say, no, 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 I didn't do it. Like I didn't step out of the helicopter with a beer in my hand and a demo tape in the other. I need both of my feet and both my hands to fly that thing. So, but they had a lot of fun. It made them lifelong friends from that point. And that's the point here. We really need to do something to humanize ourselves to these people that we don't know, and people who are, if they're important people, then they're always hearing from others who feel like they need to connect with them. So how are you going to break through? And that's the recurring theme in all of those campaigns that I discovered in my research, was just that they're incredibly clever, incredibly audacious. Like they're not afraid. Chris was not afraid of, I don't know, like being embarrassed or something. Like, oh my God, Johnny's going to think of me as one of those guys who lands helicopters on his front lawn. I don't know that. He took the risk and it worked.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about, is taking that risk. You took one, and that you recently updated one of your most best-selling books of all time, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. And recently you updated it for what you call the age of AI. What inspired you to update it? And what are we'll tell everyone where to go to get the book, of course, but what inspired you to update that book?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it came out in 2016 and it did really well. And by that, I mean, it sold well, but really the impact that it's had out in the world, among B2B sellers especially, but entrepreneurs as well, has been just amazing. And so that's great. And then things change. Just things change over time. So when it came out in 2016, we didn't have, I don't know if Zoom was around. I don't think it was. We weren't using it. I didn't know about it. So you know that you could just if you could either send something electronically or physically to someone's address, and you're likely to have it arrive and be delivered to them. But then COVID hit, and then suddenly we're working from home. So where do you send, if you're going to send something physical, where will you send it? Do you send it to their office? They might not get it. They might be 1,000 miles away suddenly, because people were buying houses at, I don't know, ski resorts. Like, how would you know where to send that? So, and then, but then if you found out what their home address was, sending someone something there at their home, it feels like they've been stalked. So how do we deal with this thing? And then of course there were virtual meetings instead of actual meetings, and how do those work? I mean, obviously we've had to dress our upper halves. I don't know, there were all kinds of things that we had to discover, lighting and how to make things work, how to make green screens work, et cetera. Yeah, it was just, and then now we have a new trend of return to office. I would say that because people were confined to by and large, to their homes, the digital spam just got horrible. I mean, I don't answer my phone anymore. I mean, I don't know, if I don't know who it is, and generally I don't know who it is, I don't answer it. I don't think anyone is answering their phones anymore. And email and LinkedIn DMs and so on. I don't think we can take much more. I'm not sure. I guess we will. Sure we will. But it seems like it can't accept more volume, and still remain viable. And it probably will. But you see in DMs on LinkedIn, these very generic notes. Hey, I noticed that I thought your profile was interesting, and I looks like we know a few people in common. Both basically they've said nothing. You could spot them a mile away actually, but they've said nothing, and it's just cluttering these channels. So something needed to be addressed. But then AI, my God, AI. I just saw a talk by Tom Bilyeu on AI, and it just floored me because he must be something of a futurist because the picture he painted of the future and in the very near future of how AI will change and take over many things, many aspects of life, much further than it has now. Obviously, we know it's just getting started, but AI is a big factor, and I would say, let's say maybe not looking so far into the future as Tom has in his talk. AI as sellers, AI enables us to do things that are, I think, miraculous. We could see real-time trigger events happening, or I don't know, buyer intent signals, and just things we never had. So that's really, I think that's exciting. I love the tools. I mean, I've been using ChatGPT, which is like the basic thing. Everyone's been using it. But some of the things it does it's just astounding. It isn't like using a tool. It's like working with an assistant, if that. It's maybe a little more than that. But all these different tools, text to speech and text to video, and wow, if you want to create something, this is an incredible time. All of that's miraculous. Still, there was a point about the book here, which is that I still think that we're still reaching so far. If we're selling B2B, we are reaching out to people, and we need to create human-to-human connections. And so while AI is sort of automating things and making things artificial, I think the same things that we've been doing all along to humanize ourselves work just as well. I mean, it didn't change, let's say, what the outcome would have been with Chris Christopherson landing on Johnny's front lawn. It doesn't change anything about that. And those are the kinds of things that we need to do to have people say, well, we're interrupting them when we reach out to them. So we want them to go from like they're handed something from you, and they, instead of saying, well, who's this? They're saying, oh my God, who is this? I mean, that's what we want.
You are absolutely right. And the goal of a lot of the things written about in your books is to get that meeting that turns into a big opportunity. Let's say we've done that. We followed the process that you laid out so well, and we got the meeting. How do you recommend people nurture that relationship long term?
Um, Part of me was, I mean, one really immediate answer is, well, I got you the meeting. I helped you get the meeting. It's up to you next. There's a lot more to it, and I haven't written about that. But I mean, it's about creating relationships, and I would, the more, well, this is true, in let's say there aren't normal times or ever are there, but let's say pre AI. It has always made sense to have a lot of relationships all over the business world, and it still does. And maybe it makes even more of a difference as a lot of sectors automate and go to AI as opposed to workers. I mean, the more people you know, the better, I think. And I would say the sort of the quality of the way you know them or the way that you've come to know them, kind of like the way Johnny used to love telling the story about Chris landing the helicopter on his front lawn. We want people to tell stories like that about us when we've reached out to them. So, there is a relationship to be nurtured, obviously. And we do the things that we always do to nurture any relationship. I mean, maybe we visit, I don't know, maybe we see each other at business events or something, or we're on, LinkedIn and other social media channels obviously makes that much easier. You can see if they went on vacation, hey, how was that vacation? You went to Norway? That's incredible. Did you go to Bergen? And, that is it's kind of the way we work as human beings. And I guess just keep doing it.
Absolutely. What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when trying to get those meetings with those impossible to reach decision makers?
Well, I think one of the things they'll do is they will be. You would expect that. Again, I'm always thinking in terms of often thinking in terms of sending physical things, although that's not the entirety of contact marketing. But if you're going to send someone something, let's say either an email or DM or it could be a physical object, you're going to be writing something, or maybe you could be including a video instead, perhaps. But by and large, we're writing something. And you know, that I think the copy that you write is really critical because if it's promotional at all, if you're putting puns in there and it's about your brand and you're just talking about yourself or and hey, and Seth Green, if you buy in the next 10 minutes, nobody's going to respond. I don't know if you respond in the next 10 minutes, um, those kinds of things. People don't want to be talked at. They want to make they want to make real connections with other people that they find interesting. And that's really how simple it is. And so, you know, be interesting because you have written out because you thought, well, Seth, I wanted to reach out to you because I've been listening to your podcast and I noticed something and I wanted to ask you about it. And you're like, what is it then? What are you going to ask? And I think also keep the copy super short. I love short. I mean, well, let's say shorten the copy as much as possible. And I think Aaron Ross, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, predictable revenue. I interviewed him for the book, and he was telling me a story of reaching out to Mark Benioff, the founder of Salesforce, and he said, I just hold myself to this rule that I won't write more than 12 words in my email, and so he described the email that he sent to Mark, and Mark, we do this is out of interest, something like that. I don't know what the this was, but and he said he got a response back within 30 seconds. And I thought, okay, I got it. The mischief of that is just like, you got to try, I have to try this. So I tried it. And sure enough, I got a response back. It wasn't the response I wanted, but it doesn't matter. I got a response back in about 30 seconds from him. God, it's a busy guy, but well, here's the thing. When you write a very, very short message, those are the only ones they have time to read. If you send a whole page of text, especially if it's just, promotional junk, they're not going to read it. But a quick thing like that, I don't know, it makes you that doesn't make you sound like you are being a person. You're just like, I'm just asking you a simple question. It's not a promotion. It's not a campaign. I'd just love to know if this makes sense. And if it does, then tell me how I can approach who I should approach and how. Something like that. I mean, just be a person and things work out better. So I do see that a lot in campaigns that people will change things. They'll try to, I don't know, they're I'm not sure what they're thinking, but I guess they're thinking, well, now that I have your attention, or if I got your attention, I'm going to tell my whole damn story. And not a good idea. Just show respect for their time and also for their humanity. Just, humanize yourself.
I love it. If you were going to launch a content marketing campaign today from scratch, what would you do differently from back when you started?
Well, I don't think I'd do anything differently because, again, that was a campaign to just 24 people, and I got total penetration in a market because of it, and I spent $100. I guess maybe spend $50. I don't know. But it's
Well,
not. But if I was just starting out, and let's say I wasn't a cartoonist, I mean that's been a big unfair advantage for me. But if I wasn't a cartoonist, I would probably use what I have called deep personalization in one of the books in Get the Meeting. So, which is you do research on the person you're trying to reach. We should be doing that anyway. I mean, really, we should know something about them. But deep research goes beyond just like let's say going to their LinkedIn profile and discovering they went to USC or something. So, and sending them a mug from a school they haven't been at for 30 years or so. So it goes more than that. But AI is making this really simple to do this, right? I mean, ChatGPT will do research on people and give you a dossier on them. But there are other tools, and Agentic Brain is one of them that produces sort of like private investigator grade dossiers, and find out something of interest, something they love to do, or something they're talking about, something that's important. Find out what's important to them, and then craft. I would say craft a gift. And so there's a really cool example I heard recently Jeremy Blubaugh had sent or was reaching out to a high net worth individual he's a financial advisor, and he discovered that the person was really interested in antique guitars. So he went on Amazon, not Amazon, but eBay, and found a used book on antique guitars. So it's cool. It's a used book. It's out of print. It's kind of a collector's item. He wrapped it up in brown craft paper and sent it with a note that said, "Hey, I was doing research on you because I wanted to reach out and ask you. I want to meet with you, and I discovered that you're really interested in antique guitars, and I found this book, and I just thought you'd enjoy it. And really, I hope that gives me a chance. Might earn me a couple of minutes of your time, and it works quite well." I've heard lots of variations on this, basically crafting a gift based on what you discover in a profile scrape or in maybe a deeper dive with AI now. But just crafting a gift that is meaningful and human. Again, it's just very human. It's very human to buy a gift like a used book on antique guitars and wrap it by hand in brown craft paper and send it that way. I mean, that was done by a human. That's really cool.
Absolutely. Well, we know your time is incredibly valuable. We greatly appreciate spending some of it with us. For our folks watching and listening, where is the best place for them to go to learn more about you, get your books, and get acquainted with all of the amazing programs that you offer?
Well, I would say two things. Come and visit my author site. I would love to have, if you're interested in any of this, I would love to have you join my email list. And that's really easy to do. Just come to my author site, StuHeinecke.com. And as soon as you arrive, there's a little pop-up window that asks you to join the email list. And when you do, then you get the first chapter of the new edition of How to Get a Meeting with Anyone for free. It just pops it right back out to you. So that's the first one. Go to my author site. The other one is mention on LinkedIn that you heard us talking, and I will always connect with. Don't write to me and say, "Hey, Stu, listen, I noticed that we know some people in common," and if it starts that way, I probably won't respond. But LinkedIn would be a great one too.
All right. Well, this has been Seth Greene with Stu Heinecke. Stu, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for watching or listening. We'll talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.